Hey, everybody, Tony G, musiclegacyinternational.com. You could visit our website by going up to the QR code here and feel free to join for free our free community platform by selecting Community Access button on the website. So today's guest is David Adler. He's the founder of the Adler Law Group, has a great background in the music industry. He's gone to the Indiana University in Bloomington, a great music school. A lot of fantastic musicians have come out of there. And he's got two offices, one in New York and one in Chicago. But no matter where you are, David is a good connection if you have any legal issues that you'd like to discuss. And we'll be working on a special offer for Music Legacy members that we'll tell you about later. He's an adjunct professor, taught music law at DePaul College of Law, and taught arts and entertainment law at Columbia College in Chicago. He also provides legal counsel on trademark and copyright clearance, registration, and enforcement. He also provides legal counsel on trademark and copyright clearance, registration, and enforcement. And you can check his Music Legacy profile for his other links like LinkedIn, Stage 32, and YouTube. All right, so David, welcome to the podcast, David. I'm very glad to have you on here. For those of you that don't know, David wrote our terms of service and our privacy policy for Music Legacy International. And we'll be talking about him doing some legal information for the artists and people in the industry out there. So David, tell us a little bit, how did you originally get started in the industry?
Yeah, so I think my backstory is a little bit interesting and probably an unusual for a lawyer. When I went to law school in the mid 90s, the internet was sort of rapidly becoming kind of this consumer thing. And we had access to some internet resources as students that I took advantage of. And I was very just intrigued about the idea of doing business online, communicating online, accessing and distributing media online. That was all very new to me, and it was very new to the world at the time. When I came out of law school, I focused early in my practice on that area of the business. I had worked for a large law firm doing mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, other corporate transactions. And I realized that I loved the work I was doing, but it wasn't the right platform for me. I liked being more hand in hand with entrepreneurs. So I took kind of what I had learned in law school and the skills I had with my first job and launched my own practice, kind of focused on the needs of entrepreneurs and businesses who wanted to do business online. So this is this is the late 90s, this is the early 2000s. We're switching from, AOL, Prodigy, CompuServe over to service, Netscape Navigator, Microsoft Internet Explorer. The internet, the web is becoming much more available to a much broader, group of people. And that's where I wanted to be. So, the first couple of years, early 2000s, I worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of startups, a lot of people who launched businesses in that space, who invested in that space, who consulted on that space. And sort of as a result, I was kind of crossing over a couple different areas, not just the corporate and the traditional intellectual property, but also a lot into media and new media, which led me into entertainment law, which of course is a wonderful place to be. My practice is always focused on working with creative entrepreneurs and other professionals. So, as the practice grew, I had more opportunity to work with people in the music industry, musicians, artists, singers, songwriters, producers. I've helped, different bands here in Chicago. I've worked with record labels. So all of that kind of grew out of this just passion for working with entrepreneurs and kind of the opportunities that were presented by doing things online, which kind of dovetails perfectly with Music Legacy International, because obviously you're taking all the resources and kind of all the expertise and all that collective artistic talent and bringing it to a place where people can access it and people can use it and people can meet and people can transact. And that's literally what I launched my law practice on.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. Very creative endeavor, it sounds like. And back in that time frame when you were doing that was the whole evolution of the internet. That is a great thing. Because I
Yeah,
remember
it
when
was
the
really.
internet first came out, it was like, "Oh, what is this going to be?" I mean, it was like nobody really knew, but those that were had enough vision actually made it into something similar like to what I'm doing with Music Legacy now. What I tell people is we're changing how music gets done by connecting the artist with the producer, with the sound engineer, and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, back in the day, we would have called that disintermediation, right? That was kind of why everybody wanted to get online. And music is such a, it's just a natural area for, online collaboration, for the
Yeah,
internet, for this type of service.
yeah. Well, I was inspired by COVID during that time when the artists couldn't work. I was like, there's no reason in this day and age that this should be happening. And that kind of
Right.
inspired me. It got me thinking. So, so now tell us a little bit more about your teaching end. Now, I know you went to college in Indiana, right?
Yep.
And now, where did you involve into the teaching aspect of law?
So I got my first opportunity to teach would have been probably around 2005, 2006. Because of the work that I was doing, I had kind of connected with somebody involved with the Columbia College of Chicago, who was she was the head of the arts, entertainment, and media management department over there at Columbia College, and they were responsible for a lot of the the programming, the education around those subject areas, and as well as kind of a business focus for creative professionals. And we talked and we wound up creating a class called Introduction to E-Business for Columbia. And that was sort of my first foray into college level teaching. And that led to also teaching arts and entertainment law as part of that department over there at Columbia College. So I did that for a couple of years. And then later on, I had an opportunity to teach music law as part of as adjunct faculty to DePaul College of Law, which is where I attended law school. So I taught that first semester, and it's not a class that's offered regularly. DePaul's, from what I can see, intellectual property program are more pragmatically focused. I'd say a lot of focus on tech, a lot of focus on healthcare, less focus on classes for arts and entertainment. So the music law was one that I think gets offered less often than some of the other classes. But so those were kind of like the formal teaching experiences that I had at the college and the graduate level. But then also as part of what I do just generally in my practice, I always try and provide educational resources to my clients, to the industries I serve. I work in not only arts and entertainment, but I work in IT. I do a lot of work in design and work with other creative professionals. And I frequently speak throughout the country on just topics related to being in these industries. So topics about contracts, to protecting your brand. Oftentimes in arts and entertainment, we might talk about rights of publicity or controlling your copyright and kind of what rights come along with that, and how do you protect the creative process and the different ways that creative works are exploited, whether it's music, whether it's film, maybe live theater. So they all have their nuances. And so to part of what I do just in the practice of law really is to try and reach out to these communities, participate in webinars, um, do trade industry events where I can share some of the knowledge that I learned by representing clients in these industries and kind of giving them things that will help just make them better artists, better entrepreneurs, better business people.
Excellent. That's great. I hope that you'll share some of that information on the platform on our timeline there. That would be great.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I would love to do some, some specific content for the membership.
Okay. Now we have several different ways that we could do that. We could have a free introduction to some topic that maybe that you're knowledgeable about, and then if you have a paid class or webinar type of thing that you'd like to offer, we could do that as well. I just started doing that with uh, a couple other people as well. So this way, I know you've seen the group section in Music Legacy. Those groups could actually be turned into a Zoom type atmosphere. I'm just
Oh,
figuring out
nice.
how to do that now. I'm not really that sure how to do it, but they're going to talk to me a little bit more about it in the coming weeks. But people can go into one of those groups, and it could be a free group or it could be a paid group. So if uh, if you even if you do have paid lessons, we could promote that on social media, on the internet, and get people to come in for those things as well. So that's something that we
Yeah,
should
that
talk
sounds
about.
great.
Yeah, yeah. Now, can you give me an idea of some of the topics that you usually speak about and something like that?
Yeah, I mean, specific to the music community, right? We could just talk about what's in a recording contract, right? Breaking
Okay,
down things like recording commitments, defined terms, options, right? And how that affects the artist. How royalties work, how writing credits work, and kind of the splits and sort of just those kinds of things. Because I think many artists and musicians just aren't familiar with the nuances of those contracts, right?
right. Yeah,
Um, we could talk about something totally different. We could talk about like, how do you put together a band? What kinds of things do you need to be thinking about? How do you protect your band's name? How do you protect your band's creative processes, right? How do you
right.
decide who owns, what part of the song, the
Of the
recording, the
song.
composition, right? So
Yeah.
kind of the issues that rarely get addressed prior to the band being formed and most often are addressed as people are heading out the door, which is right, really the wrong time to be looking at those kind of questions.
Or usually just before the check is being cut.
Right, right. As soon as they see those extra zeros, they're like, "Well, hold on a second."
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, we could talk about that. Other things involved, just, talk about general business terms like, do I need to set up a company for my music business or
Right.
things like that. So,
All
or
right,
working,
good.
working with set musicians, being a set musician,
All right.
anything that would be relevant to, the profession.
Okay, good. Now, after our last conversation, was there any things that you wanted to talk about when we got together like this?
I'm not sure. Just in terms of, I think what I'm seeing a lot of, in my practice, especially with artists and creatives, is more focus on publicity rights. So I think artists might want to take a look at what they're doing to shore up their rights, or otherwise look for opportunities to exploit those. It varies based on state to state. And there's a lot of overlap with like social media and stuff, and just protecting
Right.
your presence, things of that nature, which of course also crosses over into trademarks and that side of the law. So just lots of opportunities, I think, for people to learn more and you know to take a look at what they're doing and what they can be doing to protect themselves.
All right, great, great. All right. So I would like to get started on this. As you know, I've been out of the loop for a little bit, but now I'll be coming back fairly strong for the next week and a half or so. Then I'll be going to Europe to see some of the artists over there that signed up, and I'll be back toward the end of June. So if there's anything that you have that you could post on the timeline in the community that
Okay.
get people ideas, I will try and get this edited and um, up there to introduce you to the members. and
Okay.
then maybe we could, start moving forward with some different features and ideas that you might come up with.
Yeah. Does will the system host like a live Q&A? Because I almost wonder if if doing something like that might be a great way to just kind of break the ice where people would say, yeah, I've got this question or I've got that question, rather than having to like tune in to like a lecture, right?
Right,
Because
right,
when I present material, it tends to be sort of like a lecture. I try not to make it sound like too much like a law professor, but it's generally me presenting information. And it's more, I make it as anecdotal as possible, but it's mostly one way. And I know people like, they like kind of the spontaneity, being able to ask questions. And, there's always many people who have the same question, right? Maybe it's in different forms or whatever, but you can kind of cover a lot of ground that way. And
right.
I just don't know if this would work for that.
So what I'll do is I'll have my assistant look into that Zoom feature for the groups. Because what we could do
Okay.
is we could make a recording out of this, and then we could say on this date and this time there'll be a live Q&A if you'd like to come and ask questions.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think it'd
you
be
tell
fun.
me a time slot that works for you, 30
Yeah.
minutes or whatever. And
Yeah. So I think 30 minutes would be plenty. I think my brain would melt after that.
okay, good, good. And
Um,
now I know you mentioned in our last conversation that you maybe for the Music Legacy members, you might offer a consultation if they had
Yeah,
questions,
absolutely. So,
personal, one-on-one.
so always I definitely offer a, no fee, no obligation consultation up to 30 minutes. It's basically a getting to know you session. I'm not providing substantive advice. I'm not answering people's like, how do I resolve this kind of questions. It's basically like,
Right,
here's
right,
what's going on. Can you help me? And I can say, yeah, this is something I have familiarity with. I can help you. Or, here's where you need to look, right? This is this subject or this person or whatever it is. So,
right,
it's a meaningful use of time. And then from there, if they want to go forward, I'm more than happy to offer a discounted rate to, members of the community who come to me through the community, right? So
excellent.
give them a real, incentive to just get legal help. I've
Right,
been doing this for 27 years, so it will be
wow.
worth their while.
Now I know you have a place in Chicago and in New York. Um, if ever you do come to New York and you want to come down to the studio, we could do an in-person interview.
That would be
Or
awesome.
we are just starting to do live events here at the studio. So if we get a good enough response, we could maybe even do a live event at the studio and sell tickets. So
That
that's
would be
something
cool.
we might
That
be
would be
able to
cool.
do. All right.
Yeah, I'm on my calendar is an event in September, so I will try and make it out to New York in September. I'll get you a date when it gets a little closer.
Okay.
Um, but that's on my radar. It's not set in stone.
And I still told you I was going to get you a cup of coffee and lunch or something. We got to do that too.
Yes, 100%.
All right. Good.
Definitely got to
Good.
meet up.
All right, good. So we'll keep in touch and we'll talk more about this. And if you can post some things on that timeline, that would be a great thing. And you may actually see once you post in there, what I notice is the thing that happens most in our platform, in the community platform, is people connecting with people. So if they think
Yeah.
even that there might be a thing down the road that they might need a skill or a talent or whatever it is, you see a lot of connecting going on. So hopefully you'll be able to connect with some of our members.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, good, good. All right, anything else you could think of that you'd like to talk about?
No, I mean, that's it for today. It's been a busy week, big holiday weekend coming up.
Yep.
I moved, I personally just, as an aside, I moved from the suburbs back to the city over the week. So I'm still getting out of boxes and kind of getting
Oh,
adjusted to city life.
okay. All right. How about a question that some of the members might have? Any of the people that you represent that they may be familiar with?
Um, Probably not. I've worked kind of with, I've worked with clients who've worked with better known names. Um, you know, I've worked with some of the bigger production teams, and I've worked with some of the big networks like, NBC, Universal. Um, I've worked with some of the talent agencies, but I can't really name names.
I had a feeling that you were gonna say that, yeah. Okay. All
Not
right,
not
well,
without
good.
their permission.
All right, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, and we'll see you in the community.
All right, thanks a lot.
And I'll
Take
give
care.
you a call when I get back from Europe.
Sounds great.
All right, thanks so
Enjoy
much.
your trip. Okay, take
Thank you.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.